Welcome to Code with Shaz. In today's video, we'll explore how SQL Server integrates with JSON data. JSON or JavaScript object notation is a lightweight data interchange format that's widely used in modern applications. SQL Server provides powerful functions to work with JSON data, enabling seamless integration between relational databases and JSON-based systems. Stick around as we dive into 5 essential JSON functions in SQL Server: IsJson, JSON query, JSON value, JSON modify, and OpenJson. By the end of this video, you will understand how to validate, extract, modify, and even parse JSON data using SQL Server. So let's get started. So first thing, we need to make sure that your SQL Server, you have version 2016 or above, and your compatibility level is 130 or more. I have SQL Server 2022, and let me show you. I have the way you can check compatibility level is using this command: select compatibility level from sys databases, where database name is this. So my adventure works. If you execute this command, you'll see I have compatibility level of 160. If you want to update your compatibility level, you can execute this command: alter database, your database name, and set this to 130 and above. It will set this. So first you have to make sure that you have SQL Server 2016 and above, and your compatibility level is 130 or above. So our first function is JSON. It validates whether a given string is in proper JSON format or not. So what's the use case is? The use case is when you need to ensure a column or value contains valid JSON before performing operations on it. So let me give you one example. I have this JSON set up here, and if you can take a look, this JSON has a customer ID. Basically, JSON is a key value pair, right? So you have a customer ID, and you have order ID, and you have a bunch of books which are in array. If I execute this command IsJson on this JSON, it brings me data 1, which means that this JSON is good, is validated, is this in JSON proper format. If I remove this line here, if I remove the square brackets, and if I execute this again, you will see it brings me a 0, which means that JSON is not in proper format. So JSON basically, you can query against any JSON and you can validate if this is in proper format or not. So our next function for JSON is JSON query. JSON query basically extracts a JSON object or array from a JSON string. The use case for this is to retrieve complex JSON structures. It could be objects or arrays without flattening the data. So basically you'll get back the JSON object or array as it is. So let me give an example here. So this is the same JSON object that we had used before. You have customer ID, order ID, and books. So if I were to execute this, and if I pass in JSON query JSON variable, and to execute to get this object into the $sign here, if you use $, you'll get the whole JSON object as it is. Now, if you want to use this array, if you want to extract that one, you have to use $.books. If you execute this, you'll get only that part of the array of the JSON object, which is in this case here. Now, if you were to execute with customer ID, if you will get a null value, because customer ID is not really an object or an array, but just a JSON value. For this, you need a different function. So for this one, you need to make sure that you use a JSON object or the array. So our next function is JSON value. JSON value basically extracts a scalar value like a string, number, or boolean from a JSON string. It fetches individual values from further processing. So let me give you an example. So we have the same JSON that we were processing before. Now, if you want to get this customer ID value, what you need to do, you need to add this. Command here. But when I execute it, you will see that you'll get a null value because this is case sensitive. So you have customer ID here. So you had to add customer ID with a big capital C, then you will get the customer ID back. Now, if you want to get, let's say you want to get the books value here, you want to get books and the book ID to process this. If you see this, I'm using this one, books dot book ID, and let's see what we get. You see we get a null value, but at this point we don't know what exactly is the error. So get the error, you can add strict keyword in front of this here, then this will give you an error exactly what happened. If you execute now, you'll see that property cannot be found on a specified JSON path. It means it could not find it. To resolve this, since this is an array, what you have to do, you have to add here uh, 0. For example, you have to add, because it's an array, you have to add the first element that we need to grab. If you execute this now, and you'll see we are getting the JSON value, proper JSON value for book B001. And same thing you can do for quantity and total. And this is how the JSON value function works. So our next function is JSON modify. Basically, if you want to modify any JSON value, you can use JSON modify function. Basically, what it does, updates or adds value in a JSON string. The use case is modify existing JSON data without rewriting the entire structure. So let's say in our current code that we're following, let's say you want to modify this specific quantity to 3. So the way we will do it is that we will copy this, we'll use this code. Here you see I'm using JSON modify function, I'm using the same variable, and I'm using the first variable, and the quantity I'm setting to 3. If I were to execute this command, you will see that the quantity of this has been updated to 3. Now let's say if I want to update the whole array, in the whole array I want to update the first value for different value. This is the code I will use. So if you see here, this one, this code I'm modifying books 0. It seems it's the same function. If you look at the detail here, you see the first modify expects the JSON, and the second expects the path, and then the new value. Since the path we are not we're providing, the path is here. This is the variable. This is the path. The path for us is the first book's value, which is this one, and we are saying that okay, the first one should be the same, quantity is 3, and we are updating the total amount to 150. Now if I execute this, you will see, and you'll see here that uh, the book ID is this, quantity is 3, and total, and you'll see that you'll see us backslashes here. What it means is that the JSON is not properly formatted here. So to properly format JSON, we need to convert text to JSON query. So for this, I can use this statement here. If you see here, I need to use JSON query to properly format this specific array element into JSON array. If I execute this, now you will see that I have the proper JSON coming back. You have book ID, quantity 3, 150, and then you have the same thing that we did before. So this is how you basically you can update the JSON data. Let's say you want to add another property in this JSON, you want to add an order date. So how would you do that? So to do that, we'll do same JSON modify function. And what we'll do in the, if you hover over, you will see that JSON modify expects the JSON itself, the variable, the first one, the path, and a new value. So the path we are providing is this one, which is going to be the new JSON property. If you execute this one now, you will see that now we have the order date added over here, and then this will basically will be a new property that we're going to be adding into our JSON. The way it's going to work show is like this. For example, it's going to be order date, and it's going to be, the value will be 2024 1225. So that's basically how would you add uh, another property into your JSON. So our last function is OpenJson. What it does basically is parses JSON data into tabular format, like rows and columns, when you need to query JSON data as it were a SQL table. So let me show you an example what OpenJson does. OpenJson is a very handy table if you want to convert your JSON into a tabular format. So let me give you an example here. So let's say you want to convert this data here into the into open format. So yeah, the way you open JSON works, you're gonna be writing like this: open JSON, the variable, and the books basically is this array. So if I execute this, you'll see that it brings it to a tabular format, but you will realize that this information is not the schema is not what you expect. So let's say I want to add a schema here. So how would you do? So schema you can add using the with keyword. If you want to add specific schema to this, you can add with book ID. Book ID will be our varchar, and decimal and decimal. Let's say you want to convert book ID is yeah, I think varchar is fine because this is our varchar string. So if I execute this, you will see that oh, I think there is some kind of mistake here. So let me see what's the issue here. OpenJSON with book ID. Okay, so that's working now. I was executing something wrong. So you see here we have the proper, now we have the JSON into a table with its own schema. You see the book ID, quantity, and this is a, now let's say if you want to convert this into a, you want to add this into a temp table, or you want to convert it to a real table. Let's say I want to convert this to a books table. So first I will drop it just to make sure, it doesn't execute again. So, and I will do a select statement here. So I will do this, and then you will see that now this data is being converted into the books. Let's say, oh yeah, so I don't need to do this here, because I'm already selecting it. So I just remove this line, and then you see that now we have the data coming in. Now all the JSON data, it has been inserted into the books temp table. If you want to see what this books temp table, what is the schema, you can execute this command. This will give you this SP help command you can use against the tables to get the schema information. So for example, let's say I want to execute this. Oh, sorry, I need this one here. So here you will see that it gives me all the information schema according to this temp table. You have book ID, which is annual chart, quantity, and total. So that's how you can get the you can convert your JSON into a table. So let's take another scenario. Let's say I want to get something, a data from this JSON into this format, which I will show you with the. I want to execute this into this format. I want to get my customer ID, order ID, book ID, quantity, and total. So what it means, I'm basically exploding the data, customer data, into multiple rows. You see, we have a customer ID, and you have multiple. We are exploding it to, this is called an explode function. What explode does, explode basically translate a single row of input into multiple rows of output, one per collection item. So how would you do that? So we can do that same thing, like we apply with the way we apply the books array. We can apply the OpenJSON function against the same customer ID and order ID. So for example, let's say I execute this statement here, and you will see that if I execute this, now I have my both basically tables, books table, and this is the table that we got from the customer ID. So basically, what I want to do, I want to explode this into multiple rows using with this one. So it's very simple. You just basically you're gonna cross apply against the books JSON. You don't need the books table at this moment, but you can basically join the cross. You can cross apply between JSON you execute from the customer ID and with the books. So if I apply this right now, if I execute this, uh, you will see that. Let me just. We don't need this anymore. Let's say if I execute this now, you will see that just getting OpenJSON from these two, customer ID and order ID, and then cross applying with the books array, you can convert this into a table. And then basically what you can do, you can use a subquery and join this and select star into your table, and then you'll get the data as you expected. So that's how you can basically explode your JSON into multiple rows and array. This is a very useful function that you can use in data engineering field. I think data engineering, this is very common scenario to explode this specific JSON into multiple rows. That's all for today's deep dive into JSON functions in SQL Server. These functions provide a robust way to integrate JSON data with your database workflows. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Code with Chaz for more programming tips and tutorials. In the next video, I'll be exploring the new JSON functions that came up with SQL Server 2022. Please watch out for that video, and thanks for watching.